Hello everyone, let me welcome you to my third video on the chapter The Fundamental Unit of Life, that is the cell. I'm starting with total focus on NCERT only. So let's start with the topic. The topic that we'll be discussing in this video will be plasma membrane. So keep this in mind that the plasma membrane is also called as your cell membrane. Now keep this in mind that this is a very important part of the cell, which is basically made up of two very important things. That is, the first one is the lipid and the second one is the protein, and in small amount we will be able to find out carbohydrates also. In small amount we'll be able to find carbohydrate also. Now if you talk about this, the first very important point in this is it is the outermost covering of the cell. It is the boundary of the cell, and inside this boundary only all the activities of the cell takes place, right? Now if you talk about how the structure of it, the first very important thing about the structure of this plasma membrane is that we can see the structure of the plasma membrane only by electron microscope. Electron microscope is the only device through which we can see the structure of it. So if you look at the structure of it, you will be finding some headed man-like structures here like this, and there will be a central dense mass which you can see over here. So these headed like structures are basically called as your lipid molecules. These are nothing, these are lipid molecules. But this molecule over here, or the compound which is present over here, not molecular compound, this macromolecule which is present over here is your protein. Is that clear, everyone? And the protein, there might be certain carbohydrate units present on it to identify whether the cell is of our body or it is of the foreign origin. So it's something related with the immunity. In the immunity chapters, or in the why do we follow it chapters, we'll be discussing about how this particular carbohydrate plays a vital role in identification of the pathogens which are entering inside our body, how this particular thing is helping in the vaccination process also. So this is about the structure of the plasma membrane. I told you that it is we can see the plasma membrane only by the electron microscope. We cannot see the exact detailed structure of it by the compound or the any other microscope. The next very important thing is this allows the entry of certain things in and the exit of certain things out. That means the entry and the exit are closely regulated by this particular plasma membrane. So that's why this is called as your selectively permeable membrane. I hope that is pretty much clear. So it is doing the selection process to determine whether this substance is necessary for the cell or it is not necessary for the cell. So this is being determined by the plasma membrane. So that's why it is called as the selectively permeable membrane. Now in some of the cases, this selectively permeable membrane is helping in a process, and the name of the process is endocytosis. Now endocytosis basically means there will be movement of the cell membrane in such a way that it will be helping in the engulfing of food particles. It will be helping in the engulfing of the food particles. Do you remember the case of amoeba in the lower classes? So amoeba is a unicellular organism which does not have a specific shape. So what it will do, suppose this is your food particles, it will try to make pseudopodia. It will try to make pseudopodia over here like this. And this pseudopodia, let me write the spelling of it, pseudopodia. So this pseudopodia will be extending it up like this further. So that means this kind of structure will be seenable and like in your observations, and the thing which will be formed over here will be your food vacuole. So this particular process is called as the endocytosis, and your cell membrane is helping in the process of endocytosis. That means engulfing of the food particles or engulfing with the help of the cell membrane. Now pseudo word basically means false, and the podia word basically means the feet, so false feet, right? And endo basically means inside, and cytosis is basically related with the cytoplasm that we'll be discussing soon. So this is about your selectively permeable membrane. Now let's talk about certain more things, like how the selection is taking place. So we basically have the two very important gases, the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. See, the oxygen has to be taken in and the carbon dioxide has to be given out in a cell for certain metabolic processes. So this particular thing is taking place, that the exchange of gases is taking place because of a special process that is called as your diffusion. So diffusion is a process in which there is movement from high concentration to the low concentration. To make it more specific, let me add the very important word, that is the spontaneous movement from high concentration to the low concentration of a substance. Is that clear? So that basically means there is movement of O2. Let's take the case of O2. Let me explain you this concept a bit. Let's take the case of O2. Suppose if the O2 was more outside, so O2 will come inside. That basically means higher concentration, lower concentration. Now there will be a stage in which the amount of O2 outside and inside will be approximately same. Is that clear? Now what will happen? This O2 will be used up and it will be producing up CO2. The CO2 concentration outside is, let there be some amount of concentration outside the cell. It is using O and it is producing CO2. CO2 is getting produced up. So the concentration of the CO2 increases inside the cell, and the concentration of the CO2 outside will be lesser in this case, and there will be movement of CO2 outside. So like this particular process will be taking place inside the cell, and exchange of gases will be taking place by the process called as a diffusion. But if you take the case, a special case, that is of H2O, that basically means water also obeys the law of diffusion, and this law will be something like this. There will be movement of the H2O from high concentration to low concentration through semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane. Is that clear, everyone? So there is a movement from higher concentration to the lower concentration of water through the semi-permeable membrane, and this is called as your osmosis. This particular process is called as osmosis, and there are various factors on which osmosis depend. Osmosis can depend upon your solute concentration. Now solute concentration, let me remove this word. Let it be the substance which is dissolved. Let it be substance which is dissolved, amount of substance which is dissolved in water. I will explain you what why I have rubbed up the solute and the concept related behind that. I will explain you soon in this video itself. The substance is the substance which is dissolved inside the water will be an important factor in determining the osmosis process. The next very important factor here will be your temperature. Temperature also determines the rate of it, and if I talk more about it, we can also talk about the concentration gradient. Concentration gradient. Now to explain concentration gradient, just have a look over here. Suppose there was a high concentration over here and there is low concentration over here. Now if suppose there will be movement from here to here, high concentration over here, low concentration over here, so there will be movement from here to here. Suppose there was a very high concentration over here and a very low concentration over here, the movement will be of course downstairs. But the difference on the movement will be there. The difference will be that this concentration gradient will be lesser and this concentration gradient will be higher. Is that clear? This is concentration gradient. Let's go further on with this particular topic. Let me tell you that osmosis, this osmosis is a special case. Osmosis is a special case of your diffusion. Osmosis is a special case of diffusion through the semi-permeable membrane. Now, let me add a certain more point that this plasma membrane is flexible in nature. It's not rigid. So rigid like your cell. Or is it like our boundaries, which are basically made up of your brick and the cement? They're not rigid like that. These are flexible. They can move. So that then let's move on to the next topic, that is the type of the solution. Now I can explain you the very important point in it, the solute and the solvent concept. So this is a very important concept, the solute and solvent concept. So we basically have a solution. Now we are discussing about the type of solution. Before we discuss type of solution, we must know that what is solution. The solution is basically made up of two very important components. The first one is solvent. The second one is your solute. Now solvent basically means the substance which is present in higher quantity, higher amount, that will be basically called as your solvent, and the substance which is present in the lower quantity will be called as your solute. The best example here we can take of lemonade. If you take the case of lemonade, the water will be here, the solvent, and the lime syrup will be your solute. Even your sugar also will be your solute. Is that clear, everyone? So we have divided the type of solution as hypotonic solution, the second one is isotonic solution, and the third one is hypertonic solution. Now hypotonic solution means what? Suppose we are having a beaker with us, and the beaker we have a certain concentration of solution inside it, and if we place a cell inside it, and the cell swells up after keeping it for some particular period of time, so the solution is called as the hypotonic solution. That basically means in this solution the amount of H2O is more and the amount of H2O which is present inside the cell is less. So there is a movement from higher concentration to lower concentration towards or inside the cell, and the cell will swells up. People always get confused up with a hypotonic and hypertonic solution. So keep this in mind. O in hypo basically means the fatty thing. So of course there will be swelling. O means swelling, right? So this swelling will be taking place over here in the cell. Is that clear, everyone? O is a circular structure, so swelling will be taking place inside it, right? Now in the opposite case, we have a beaker with us, and if you place a cell, the water concentration which is in the cell will be higher, and in the solution suppose the water concentration is less. So there will be movement from here to here, that is from cell to outside the cell. So this is called, this kind of solution will be called as a hypertonic solution. So E basically cannot take lot of water inside it, so that's why it will move out. So that's why I said O basically means to swell and E basically means to shrink. So here the cell will be shrinking in the size. Is that clear, everyone? Now it's pretty easy. Isotonic now. There will be movement over here. Same story will be there. We'll be having a cell here. Here the concentration of the water inside the cell and the concentration of the water. Oh my god, my mom is calling me. Okay, nice. Okay. The water concentration of the cell and the water concentration over here will be same. They will be equal. So neither the cell will be swelling up, neither it will be shrinking up. Is that clear, everyone? It will be swelling here, it will be shrinking here. Now this concept is pretty wrong. Let me make it clear that when we are talking about the isotonic or hypotonic or hypotonic solution, the very important point here is that in the case of isotonic solution, just understand the case of isotonic solution, then you can correlate with the hypotonic also. This says that there is no movement over here. But my dear, there is a movement. Movement will always take place inside and outside the cell. But the movement inside is equal to the movement which is taking place outside. The movement which is inside, the amount of movement which is taking place inside and the movement which is going outside are approximately same. So the net movement is 0. So it's not best to say that there is no movement which is taking place inside hypotonic solution. The movement is taking place, but the movement is higher. It's not higher. The movement is same on both the sides. That's why. Is that clear, everyone? But it is higher in the case, the movement which is taking place inside the cell is higher in the case of hypotonic solution and lesser in the case of hypotonic solution. Is that clear, everyone? Got my point? So the movement taking place inside the cell is higher and outside the cell is lower. Similarly, if you draw, the movement taking place outside the cell is higher and inside the cell taking place is lower. Is that clear, everyone? Now there is one more concept which I would like to add in this, that is the amount of substance dissolved, that is the amount of solute. Now understand the case that, let's take the case of hypotonic solution. Here the water which is present in the solution is very dilute, but the water which is present here inside the cell is basically concentrated. Why it is concentrated? Because generally the amount of solute is higher and here the amount of solute is lesser. Is that clear, everyone? So this concept of solute also you can use while defining the process, defining the solutions, while defining the osmosis also. We can use in both the concepts. So with this, let me sign off. It's being a long video. In the next classes, we'll be discussing about certain more things. I hope you like the video. This videos, my camera, digital camera, the DSLR got, it was not clicking up good the pictures because certain setting issues has been taking place. So I have done this basic videos through my phone. So I hope you will be liking these videos. Please do share this. Do comment on them and do like them. This will be giving me a great motivation because I want total focus on NCERT. Now people are saying that NCERT is just shit. It does not have a good knowledge. My goodness, if you read NCERT, you will be able to figure out great questions from it and the great answers you'll be getting from it. So it's just that the basic has to be clear first, then you can build Taj Mahal onto it. So if you do not have the base, then it's pretty difficult to make Taj Mahal or any big buildings on it. So NCERT is the base. So that's why I'm focusing on the NCERT in this particular videos. So hope you like it. Thank you for watching it.